Good morning, St. Bernards. I'm Henry Gross from Pastoral Care, and I'd like to go through a little devotional today. The title of this devotional is called Eating Healthy. Here we are, starting a new year, and with it comes the famous New Year's resolutions. I'm going to give up smoking, drinking, lose weight, eat healthy, spend more time with my family, and get more involved in community, etc. All of these resolutions are great, but most of these resolutions go by the wayside when we revert back to our more comfortable old habits. We are happy with familiar, even if they're not in our best interest. I'd like to talk to you about two resolutions on my list: eating healthy and community. The French author Altham Brillant-Savant wrote, "Tell me what you eat, and I will tell you what you are." How often have you heard the phrase, "You are what you eat"? From an article in the July-August 2013 edition of Inc. magazine, Adam Bluestein writes, "For entrepreneurs, eating isn't just about satisfying hunger. So say the great growing ranks of nutrition experts who specialize in fine-tuning the metabolic performance of business leaders. You are like an athlete in the workplace, so you should eat like an athlete. At the very least, that means lots of lean protein, fruits and vegetables, complex carbohydrates, no processed food, and a minimal white flour and sugar. Science bears this out. According to a Cambridge University study, after 5 days on a high-fat diet, the treadmill performance of lab rats declines by half. Moreover, the rats eating fatty chow begin to falter on a maze test that they have trained on, finding only 5 treats before making a mistake. The healthier rats were able to find 6 or more treats. I did a Google search and wanted to find out the number of website hits for the search on comfort food versus healthy food. The results were remarkably interesting. The titles that I came up with for comfort food were similar to 70 best comfort food recipes, 50 best food comfort recipes, 101 best classic food recipes. There were about 630 million results. The health food search resulted in the 20 most weight loss friendly foods, 30 healthy foods, the 15 top healthy foods. There were 8 trillion results. It's interesting to note how many different comfort food recipes each title had. Just in the 3 that I had mentioned, there were 221 different recipes. On the other hand, the healthy food numbers were 65. The number of website hits were also very interesting. 630 million for comfort food, but 8 trillion for the healthy food. So one conclusion that we can come to is that even though we are constantly told to eat healthy, we decide to do the opposite. At a party, what do you reach for? Carrots or the Ripple potato chips with creamy BLT dip? These results got me thinking about some biblical passages concerning eating and community. Can we compare comfort food and healthy food to what God is providing, and what do we choose to consume? Do we satisfy our bellies or our hearts? As in the Inc. magazine article, we see the results of eating healthy. If we consume unhealthy food, we tend to become tired, lazy. We want to separate ourselves from our community. In other words, we want to go and have a nap. On the other hand, healthy food helps us to be more alert and join our community. Let's reflect on some of these Bible verses. From Deuteronomy 8, verses 2 to 3. Remember how, for these 40 years, the Lord, your God, has directed all your journeying in the wilderness so as to test you, by affliction, to know what was in your heart, to keep his commandments or not. He therefore let you be afflicted with hunger, and then fed you with manna, a food unknown to you and your ancestors, so you might know that it is not by bread alone that people live, but by all that comes forth from the mouth of the Lord. And verses 14 to 16, you then become haughty of heart and forget the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt, that house of slavery. He guided you through the vast and terrible wilderness with its serpents and scorpions, its parched and waterless ground. He brought forth water for you from the flinty rock and fed you in the wilderness with manna, a food unknown to your ancestors, that he might afflict you and test you, but also make you prosperous in the end. In the readings from Deuteronomy, we saw how God had provided the Israelites with food and water to sustain them. But they were more inclined to give up that freedom and go back to Egypt. They were afraid of the future. They were more happy with the old ways, even if it was killing them. In the Gospel of John, chapter 6, 51 to 58, I am the living bread that came down from heaven. Whoever eats this bread will live forever. And the bread that I will give is my flesh for the life of the world. The Jews quarreled amongst themselves, saying, how can this man give us his flesh to eat? Jesus said to them, Amen, amen, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of the Son of Man and drink his blood, you do not have life within you. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood has eternal life, and I will raise him on the last day. For my flesh is true food, and my blood is true drink. Whoever eats my flesh and drinks my blood remains in me, and I in him. Just as the living Father sent me, I have life because of the Father. So also the one who feeds on me will have life because of me. This is the bread that came down from heaven. Unlike your ancestors who ate and still died, whoever eats this bread will live forever. Jesus tells us straight out what we should eat to keep us healthy, what brings us not only life, but everlasting life. Simple enough, but here we go again. We see the Jews quarreling amongst themselves. They fell back to the place that was more comfortable without even saying, Jesus, what do you mean? Rather, they chose to stick with the mindset that even though they were offered everlasting life, they chose life that would lead to death. They wanted to stick with something that they knew, even if that comfort zone was wrought with destruction. God is asking us to follow him, not our ways or the ways of the world. Psalmist describes all the benefits we receive when we follow God. He has strengthened the bars of your gates, blessed your children within you, your home and your family. He brings peace to your borders and satisfies the finest wheat. He provides food and security. With all these gifts from God, how often do we say, thanks God, I'll do it my way? Nick Morgan, contributor to Forbes, September 1st, 2015, wrote as part of his article, we want to achieve this state of communion, human communion. It's a mistake to think that most humans prefer the solitary life that so much of the modern life imposes on us. We are most comfortable when we are connected, sharing strong emotions and stories, and led by a strong, charismatic leader who is keeping us safe and together. In his letter to the Corinthians, Paul shows us the importance of communion with God. 1 Corinthians chapter 10, 16 to 17. The cup of blessing that we bless is not a participation in the blood of Christ? The bread we break, is it not a participation in the body of Christ? Because the loaf of bread is one, we, though many, are one body, for we all partake of the one loaf. Paul shows us we are invited not only to share in a common one loaf, but to be in community with our strong, charismatic leader, Jesus. The strong leader we need to help us become successful in our resolutions. So how does all of this apply to our lives? Is it relevant to me? Ask yourself, how many times have you thought or got a tug to do something that is completely out of your comfort zone? What I mean, God is nudging you to do something that is in His plan. How often is our response, I can't do that? We are happy with the status quo, even if it kills us. The status quo, or the junk, is what God is trying to lead us away from. The question is, how do we know God is speaking to us? The answer is, He's always speaking to us. But are we listening? The listening is the healthy, everlasting, life-giving food. If you notice, when God is asking us to do something, it always seems to involve more than ourselves. God is always looking to call us to community. So when He calls, there is always a communal aspect. If we look at our church services, for example, it begins with God calling us to assemble. And after we have been fed with the one loaf, we are told to go and share that of which we have partaken. So in the end, God leaves us with a decision. Take the road He has planned to fulfill the resolution, everlasting life, or the status quo, the failed resolution, the dead-end road. Healthy food for the journey, or unhealthy junk food that leaves us by the wayside. Manna or French fries? Your choice.